Hey guys, this week I was taking part in the author-a-thon, and you can see my TBR video, which I will link somewhere. I had so much fun doing it. I'm literally so busy today that I really don't have time to film a proper wrap-up video. So since I'm just sitting here getting ready for my day anyway, I thought that you guys could get ready with me, and I'll talk a little bit about the author-a-thon and the books that I read and how amazing they were. So that's what's happening today. I finished up Where'd You Go, Bernadette by Maria Semple, sorry. I really enjoyed that book. It's about this girl named B, whose mom has severe anxiety after some event happened like years ago. Right before Christmas, the family was supposed to go on a trip to Antarctica, and then her mom disappears. And so B compiles all of these letters and emails and just correspondences that aren't always even from her mom. Sometimes they're from the neighbors and stuff like that. And she compiles it to kind of give a background of what all was happening that led up to her mom's disappearance. And I thought that that was such an interesting way to do a book, because the only dialogue that was in the book was the dialogue that was talked about in email correspondences. So if the neighbor was talking about a conversation that had happened, the conversation was in the email. So you really are just finding out about stuff after it happened. I thought that it was absolutely hilarious, but at times it was very heartbreaking because everyone in the book was judging Bernadette because she was a little bit different without getting to know her. If you guys haven't read that one, I definitely recommend it because it was really good. It's a good commentary on society and just how we judge people without even really knowing them, and how we put stock in these really unimportant things when the real important things are around us the whole time. It was just a really good book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that literally took me almost the entire rest of the week to read was Looking for Alaska by John Green. I read this as part of another reading challenge that I'm doing this year, and if you want to see my quarterly check-in for that, I'll leave that video linked. But I was also using this book to fill a spot in that reading challenge, which is reading a book that you haven't read since high school, and I cannot even say how happy I am that I reread Looking for Alaska now that I'm older, because I read it when I was probably 17 or 16 going on 17, and there's just no way that I really understood like what was going on. I always think that it's good to reread books that you haven't read like in a while, or that you read when you were much younger, because you're at a different time in your life and things could connect with you differently. And that was certainly the case for Looking for Alaska. It is about a boy named Miles, but he ends up getting the nickname Pudge. When he goes to a boarding school in Alabama, he makes the decision to go. And it's for a lot of like smart kids, I guess. And while he's there, he becomes really good friends with his roommate, the Colonel, and he meets some other characters, including Miss Alaska Young, who he falls in love with, but it kind of does fall into the trope of the manic pixie dream girl. But the thing about John Green is, even though he uses that trope in his books, he does it in a way where in the end he says why it's not a good thing to put girls up on a pedestal. And that's what I really like about John Green's books and writing, because even though like, yeah, he's using that trope, he's doing it in a way that's like educational to show people like why it can be harmful. And then there's an accident, and Pudge kind of spends the rest of the book talking about moving on and grief, and they're trying to find out what really happened because they just don't want to accept what they're being told. It ends up being kind of a coming of age story. And I really love John Green's writing in this. You can definitely tell that it's one of his earlier books. It was written so much more mature, in my opinion, than his other books are. There are so many quotable parts in this book. And then the last book that I read this week was The Thing About Jellyfish by Allie Benjamin. And this is about a girl whose friend dies in a drowning accident. And she becomes obsessed with the thought that it wasn't a drowning accident, that she was stung by a jellyfish. And she is so zeroed in on the fact that her friend was stung by a jellyfish that she wants to consult like different specialists and all of that. But the thing about her is that once her friend died, she stopped talking. She doesn't talk to her mom or dad, her brother, anyone at school. So most of the book is an inner monologue. And then chapters also flash back into the past because she wasn't good friends with this girl in the present. And so those flashback chapters talk about when they were best friends growing up and then how they fell out of their friendship. So I thought that that was really interesting to see. It was so heartbreaking. I read it in one sitting because it was split up into different sections, and each section was a different part of the scientific method. So like coming up with a question, then your hypothesis, then you test it, then like all of that. And I thought that that was so unique to do. I've never read a book that was split up quite that way. It definitely made it read a little bit younger, but I didn't mind that at all. It was still really beautiful. The girl in it is in like 7th grade, so it's still totally relatable for YA. And I absolutely adored this book. Even though I did find it in like the children's section, I definitely recommend that you guys pick it up because it was so amazing. The cover is absolutely beautiful. The writing is amazing. I give that book 5 out of 5 stars too. It also deals a lot with grief and moving on and knowing that sometimes things just happen as well. I think that that's a really important message, and I love that these books for younger age groups are getting these messages, because then if they're exposed to these books, when something does inevitably happen in their life, I feel like children and young adults, young teens will be much more apt to deal with these tragedies that are occurring in the world if they are exposed to books that deal with tragedy and grief and loss as well. And that's about it, not only for my makeup, but also for my reading wrap up. I know this video is so weird, people are probably gonna hate it, but I wanted to film a wrap up for you guys, and this was the only way that I could do it. So let me know down below in the comments if you guys took part in the author-a-thon and what books you read, or if you've read any of the books that I mentioned in this video. I would love to talk to you more about those books. If you like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to see more bookish videos, not makeup videos, because I don't know what I'm doing. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!